Good evening, all. Welcome to Carrow Road on a very cold night, but a very special night. Norwich have moved 17 points clear of third place Brentford, and they've only got 6 games to play. It is officially a case of when, not if. Norwich will be playing Premier League football again next season, and that is a remarkable achievement when you consider how painful that relegation was last season. They have absolutely blown Huddersfield away tonight, 7-0, a club record, the first time that a Norwich City team has ever won a game in the second tier by 7 clear goals. You'll remember only 4 years ago, a 7-1 win over Reading. They were 6-0 up at half-time that night. It was only 5 tonight, so that was very disappointing. But 7-0, Huddersfield literally did not know what had hit them. It was like a hot knife through butter at times. It was sensational. And Emi Buendia, once again, the man that we've talked about so much, just looks, as he has done for quite a while now, just looks far too good to be playing at this level. He was sensational in the first half, scored 1, 3 assists, which apparently is the first time a player has managed that in one game in the Championship so far this season. So he got 15 assists for the season already in his 33rd appearance. It was his 12th goal. There are a lot of numbers we're going to throw at you here because there's just achievements left, right and centre. It was a brilliant night. The first time that Norwich has scored 5 goals in the Daniel Farke era. The first Championship hat-trick for Teemu Pukki, which is bizarre. Only his second hat-trick for Norwich. He scored so many doubles. His 25th. He's on 25 for the season now. And speaking to him afterwards, he's still got an eye on the Golden Boot, a second Championship Golden Boot. Even Tony only 3 goals ahead of him now. He's in wonderful form. Of course, went away with Finland and did well. He scored 17 goals in 15 games for club and country now, and was pretty frustrated on Friday at Preston, wasn't he, when he should have probably had hat-trick at Deepdale, and that would have been a win, and we would have been talking about that on Saturday they could seal promotion. There is a slim chance, I think, that they can get promotion sealed at the weekend, but it doesn't seem particularly likely. But it's just a case of enjoying it, really. You know, obviously the empty seats behind me, that the party that would have been in here, as we've said on so many occasions this year, sadly, is what we're all missing out on, isn't it? That atmosphere and that buzz. But there's no point dwelling on that. We might as well just enjoy this for as much as we can, because it's been a tough old year, both in footballing terms with the relegation and everything else that's been going on with life, of course. So I hope that you've managed to have a few celebratory Tuesday night beers. I made sure I got some from the supermarket this afternoon just in case, because they can't quite pop the champagne corks yet because it's not sealed, but they will be promoted. And with Watford slipping up yesterday at Borough, that's allowed them to re-establish that 8-point lead at the summit, and they are very much in the driving seat for the title. I would think that the Bournemouth game, so it's Derby away on Saturday and then Bournemouth here again the following Saturday, and Sky have moved that to an 8 p.m. kickoff. So I think they've probably worked out that could be the first opportunity for Norwich to seal it. It might even be one of those nights where Norwich could lose and win the title, which would be a strange one, but wouldn't be the first time it's happened, would it? So there's just... the countdown has started, essentially, isn't it? Everyone can just enjoy a promotion pie, and that doesn't feel right as a Norwich fan either, does it? To be in such an imperious, dominant position is just amazing, really. I think that's all the big numbers covered off. It was Grant Hanley's 100th appearance tonight. Clean sheet. Andrew Omobamidele kept his starting place and probably will play the rest of the season. That young man must be feeling like he's dreaming at the moment, must be pinching himself, because all of a sudden he's thrown into the best team in the division. He's on course to get a title winners medal if things keep going well, and he's going to get the best possible experience. His career is literally kick-starting here as an 18-year-old. I mean, he's kind of living every Norwich City fan's dream, isn't he? Just being dropped in at this stage of the season when things are going so well. He's almost certainly going to get a promotion on his CV, and could well end up with a title winners medal as well. So things going very well for him. But we were almost laughing in the first half. I actually applauded Buendia's goal, because It was just so good and so satisfying the way it pinged in off the post, because Huddersfield just were lambs to the slaughter, complete deer in the headlights. All the analogies and metaphors you want to throw at it, they were having an absolute nightmare. The one thing you should say for Huddersfield is that they have got some real grim injury problems. Harry Toffolo and Alex Pritchard, the two former Norwich players, not involved tonight. I think they're nearly in double figures for injuries. They had one problem just before kickoff. They had to change goalkeepers. Schofield was ill, so they brought in Joel Pereira, who's on loan from Man United. Not particularly experienced goalkeeper, not had particularly great career so far, but so that didn't help. They lost a couple of, they drew at home to Brentford on Saturday, don't forget, so they had a little bit less recovery time than Norwich, but that was a good result. But they did lose two players to that: Pippa, who's a highly rated fullback for them, and Vallejo, who's a midfielder who got they were worried about concussion. So you should give it that context, but this just felt like after Friday, after Norwich had drawn breath and got over all that international rubbish that we all spoke so much about ahead of the Preston game, that I've also spoken to Grant Hanley a bit about after the game, and they just were on a mission. They were determined to get the job done tonight. And talking to a couple of the security lads on the way in tonight, they said, "Oh, what do you reckon? Two more wins to do?" And I just said, "No, tonight. They win it tonight. They're there. They will be promoted." 87 points. In only 3 of the last 20 seasons has that not been enough for promotion. Now, Norwich are unbeaten in 12. They clearly are going to keep getting more points from this position. I think they would be disappointed to not break the club record of 94 points from here, to not get another 8 points in the final 6 games. I think they will. I think they're just too good for this division. They are a Premier League team in waiting. They are the archetypal yo-yo club of the moment. Hopefully not for too much longer, but who knows, with the financial impacts of COVID and all that sort of stuff, that's for another day. But they have done the sort of classic bounce back, haven't they, where arguably, a lot of people would say they were good enough to survive last season. If they hadn't have had the defensive injury crisis, if they'd just managed to pick up a few more points, then they might have been able to pull off a great escape. But that is very much history now, and they are putting that right in style and with far more defensive solidity. They're probably going to break the club record for fewest goals conceded. I think that off the top of my head. I need to have a look at my numbers again, because as I say, there are just numbers at every angle to look at. It's just such a pleasure to watch, and I really do hope that all you guys watching the feed at home really enjoyed it with a beer or a glass of wine, or as Daniel Farker would say, with a cup of green tea if alcohol's not your thing. If you're only an occasional drinker, then maybe this is the night to bust out a little sherry or something. But just to quickly go through the goals, I mean, Norwich had 68% of possession, 22 shots at goal, 11 of them on target. Actually, no, I'll go man of the match first. Emi Buendia, clearly, once again, as I've said, it feels like you can say Buendia is man of the match most of the time for Norwich because he's the best player on the pitch most of the time. He is the best player in the Championship. If they open the book on these things, then I'd put money on him winning the Championship Player of the Season. He's been absolutely outstanding, hasn't he? Considering particularly that the start of the season didn't really go how he wanted it. He was suspended, he had a little bit of injury, the Bournemouth game, all that sort of stuff, which feels like ancient history now. So I'm going to go big tens. I'm going to go Pukki and Buendia, 10 out of 10. You can't get much better than that, can you? A hat trick of goals and an assist for Pukki in a 7-0 win, a record 7-0 win to put your team on the verge of the Premier League, and equally Buendia, a hat trick of assists, a goal, your team winning 7-0 on the verge of the Premier League. Why not? If that's not a 10, when is there going to be a 10? So 10 out of 10 for both of them. 9 for Cantwell as well, who was sensational in the first half. He was just having fun. It almost looked like the first team against the under-23s in training at times, because they were just enjoying themselves, just playing expressive, expansive football. And Huddersfield are hoping to sort of follow the Norwich model, really, and Carlos Corberán, and his obviously big influences Bielsa, and they want to play good football, but they were so open, and they were in trouble from early on. So yeah, Cantwell, and then the rest of the team, give them all an 8. No one deserves a 7 when you've won 7-0. So yeah, everyone, Krul, Aarons, Giannoulis, Hanley, Andrew Omobamidele, Oliver Skipp, Max Aarons, Kieran Dow all get an 8 as well. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the first time I've ever given out 10s. I've not given out many 9s, but tonight's the night for it, isn't it? The opening goal was 8th minute. Pookie, created by Cantwell. It was actually Yanulis who was denied initially after Cantwell set him up. Then a lovely step over from Todd, and Pookie, good movement, gets across his man, pokes him from close range. That's 1-0 in the 8th minute. It's 2 in the 20th minute. And this time it's Buendia setting up Pookie with an absolutely glorious ball from about halfway on the right, just curls it in behind the defence. Pookie's clean through and goal, has time to pick his spot, goes for the near top corner, blasts it past the keeper, 2-0. And then 3 minutes later, it's 3-0 in the 23rd minute, at which point we're all starting to laugh a bit and say, this is ridiculous, isn't it? And this is time for Buendia to get in on the act. Again, it's Todd on the left who's making the progress. Pookie squares it. It's initially a little bit behind Emmy, but he picks it up and then just picks his spot, and it curls away from the keeper, in off the left post, just pings in, and it was a beautiful goal. As I said, I applauded it in the press box. I'd have loved to have got up and sung a rendition of On the Ball City for fans at that point, but I don't think that would go down too well. We can't get too excited. Maybe when promotion's sealed. No, they might not let me in again if I do that. Right, 4-0, 29th minute. And that is Cantwell. Lovely finish. 5th of the season, I think that was for Todd. That comes from Max Aaron's, a bit of urgency on the right. Gets the ball to Buendia in the box, who then very unselfishly turns, takes his time, picks out Todd, who just smashes across the keeper into the top left-hand corner, and literally 4-0 inside half an hour. You know, at that point, Norwich have won. And on an evening game, as a reporter who's writing for tomorrow's newspapers, of course, that's great because it means you can crack on. And then it gets even better before half-time. Kieran Dowell gets in on the act with his 3rd goal of the season, makes it 5-0. Buendia and him exchange a couple of 1-2s, and then Emmy's just... remember that the Wes goal against Rotherham, when he just seemed like he had everyone on a string? It just felt like one of those moments where he was moving at a different speed of thought and movement to everybody else on the pitch, and he just gave it to Dowell on a plate for a nice, easy, close range finish, and that's 5-0 before the break. As I said, we were then checking that Reading game from 4 years ago, almost exactly to the day, under Alan Irvine. They had scored 6 at half time, so they didn't quite manage that, but they did eventually surpass it. It should be mentioned that Tim Krul did manage to preserve his clean sheet, because Huddersfield came out after the break and they were a bit better. They rolled through their substitutes, their fresh legs worked, and they showed a little bit of spirit, to be fair to them. Krul got down really well to make one good save from Thomas to tip that round his post, and Dehaney also nodded a corner onto the far post, and the ball came out to Ward, and Krul got down to save with his feet and deny them a goal to get back into the game, which would have only been a consolation. But those saves were either side of Pookie making it 6-0 after a really good run into the box from Oliver Skip, eventually shoved over. Pookie complete his hat-trick, blast it bottom right. The keeper did guess correctly, but that was 6-0. So a word of praise for Tim Krul, and I'll wrap up in just a minute as the lights start to go off. But Omar Bamidele, it should be said as well, showed some really good touches in the first half, some really good reading of the game, looked nice and calm again. Daniel Farker did sort of pull into the side at the end of the game. I think maybe he just was tiring a little bit, unsurprisingly, given that he played at Preston as well on Friday, and positionally wasn't quite happy with him towards the end of the second half. It was sort of one of those Guardiola type moments, you know, when he pulls a Sterling or Nathan Redmond famously, and sort of has a not in the same passionate way, but where he really, it's fresh in his mind. He wants to make sure he gets his point across to the player, which is, you know, brilliant. As I said earlier, this is such an amazing learning experience for an 18-year-old lad who'd only just won his first Ireland under-21 cap during the international break. And then finally 7-0, 77th minute, and it's Aaron's again involved. Really good bit of play, just decides to wander forward, basically. Exchanges a 1-2 with Steedman, perfect ball to the back post, and Hugo's got a nice easy finish for 7-0. Lovely play from Max. I think that was a 5th of the season for Hugo as well, so gets in on the act from the bench. Pookie and Buendia were both taken off in the 77th minute. Daniel got his subs going all around about that time. So Puerta, Hernandez got on, Steeperman, and yeah, that was job done. So that'll do. 7-0. Premier League, here we come. We can start looking forward to that already. Start counting down the days, whenever that will be. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you thought of the game in the comments below. If you want to let us know your ratings as well, then please do. And of course, pinkin.com, you can have a read of the report Paddy's pointers, ratings, reaction from Hanley, Pookie, loads. We'll bring it all for you, and we'll try and savour these moments as much as we can for you. Thanks very much for watching.